What's up, everybody? Today, glad to be here with Gridiron legend from Mercyhurst Prep and Mercyhurst University, Mr. Craig Woodard. He's a Hall of Famer from Mercyhurst University, three-sport athlete at Mercyhurst Prep, and also he was well known for being a newscaster around here in PA. Craig, what's up, man? How you doing today?
What's up, Mo? What's going on, man? It's a pleasure to be here. I appreciate you reaching out to me, man.
Oh man, thanks. So it's such a pleasure to have you here today, and thanks for doing this. Appreciate you, man.
Absolutely, man.
Also today, got my brother Jerry on here. He was played at Central High School and also played at Duquesne University. He's one of the guys who helped me start the page. So, Jerry, if you want to say something real quick.
Hey, how's it going, Craig? Hey, nice to meet
Hey,
you.
hey,
I heard a lot about you. I'm looking forward to this interview.
absolutely. It's a pleasure to meet you too, Jerry.
hmm
So, Craig, I know before we even get started the interview, how's everything going, man? I know you and your family live down in the Florida area. How's everything? Are you safe? Is everything good? Give us a little update.
Yeah, man, we're living down here in Tampa since 2011, and a part of being now a Floridian is um, being accepting to the hurricanes that come through. And
Right.
we've been through a few of them, and we've been through three in the last 3 months. So it's been hectic. We haven't been through that stretch in a long, long time. So, yeah, Hurricane Milton came through and really did some damage here in the Tampa, Bradenton, Sarasota area. I work in Bradenton, live in Riverview, right outside Tampa, and we retreated to Orlando, went inland about an hour, stayed at the Hilton on the fourth floor, and things were okay over there. Very windy, a lot of rain, not much flooding where we were. But then we came back this past Thursday, and we came back to no power. One of my magnolia trees was halfway down. Um, and I had a lot of branches in the backyard. However, there were a lot of people that I know that are still out of power right now. There's a lot of flooding. The schools are still shut down right now. And there are a lot of tree damage. And we have I think it's about 450,000 people here in Hillsborough County that are without power. So we hadn't seen a storm like this since I believe it was 1921. 103 years, and there's been some loss of life, and some people think that they can ride these things out. And this was only the second time that we evacuated because of the models and where the storm was actually coming. So I didn't want to chance it with my family. We could replace everything else except for life, and so we took off, and thankfully, thank God, we came back to a house that has a roof on it. So we're doing good. I was doing some updates on Facebook, keeping people posted and everything, and I appreciate all the love that everyone was giving me. But we are good. I still have some team members that work for me that are out of power right now. But I have one of my team members that lives down in the Bradenton area. She lives in an apartment complex, and her whole roof was blown off. So
Wow.
she's getting another place to stay. So it could be worse for me right now. But I appreciate everyone kind of looking out and checking to see how we were doing.
Right. Well, we glad. Thanks for the update, and praying for you guys, and hopefully it gets better soon for you.
Yes, sir.
So let's start off. Talk about where you grew up at, what city, what state, a little bit about the neighborhood you grew up in.
Yeah, I was born in Flint, Michigan. Both sides of my family, the Woodard side and the Francis side, are from Erie. My dad and my mom, they both grew up in Erie. They got together in college at Edinboro. My dad I lived with for a few years after my parents got divorced, and I moved to Erie with my mother when I was in sixth grade. And that's when I attended St. Patrick's. Olympics, which is now obviously it's been closed for years. But I was a Shamrock back in the day with Keith Pulliam and Ramphis Perez, Ace Perez, Luke Purvis, Sean and John Warner, all those guys, Mike Adams, Joseph King, Gary King, Mike King, Debbie Sakula. So the list goes on and on by a lot of people that actually went to St. Patrick. And I got involved in football in 8th grade. We teamed up with St. Andrew. So
Okay.
St. Andrews is who I played with, but I only played one play on offense because at that time, in the summertime, I was visiting my father. So I didn't have
Okay.
time to learn the plays. But I played with Tony Roby, Quentin Orlando, Ramphis Perez, those guys. And Ramphis was a beast on the football field at that time. Chris James played as well. And I played tight end one play. And I don't know if you remember Rick Kaczynski. He
Oh
played
yeah.
at
Oh yeah.
Notre
Notre
Dame,
Dame.
and I scored a touchdown on him, a nice reception on him, and so I was one and one for the year. Coach Roby, Tom Roby was our coach, and he says to me all the time, he's like, "God, I should have played you at running back," you know. But I got to know a lot of those guys back in the day, hanging around the Vincent area. We practiced at Strong Vincent,
Okay.
and then I made a choice to go to Mercier's Prep, and basketball was my sport at that time. I was dunking in 8th grade, and Kyle Horton was down at Wayne, and we met in 8th grade, and he used to come to our soccer practices. I played a little soccer as well. And we talked about dreaming of winning a state title. And he told me that he
Right.
was thinking about going to Mercier's Prep. And I was like, wow, because he and I actually went remember back in the day, you had to take a test to get into tech
Right.
in
Right.
9th grade.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
went up, we took that test, we passed that test. My cousins Terry and Jerry Roberts were there. We would have been playing with them and Dietrich Gels and Milo Stewart and all those guys, man. And then I found out that Kyle's cousin Shelby Wiley, who I played against 6th,
Uh-huh.
7th, and 8th grade, he was at Luther Memorial. Him and Mark Tate, and we would battle every year. And I
All right.
found out Shelby was going to Mercier's Prep. So I'm like, all right, Shelby's going up there. Chief is talking about going up there. I might as well go up there as well. So, we made that happen. Went to Mercier's. They did not have a football team, so
Right.
ninth grade, 10th grade, I played a little soccer up there. And then 11th grade, they formed our football team. Coach Ron Costello came in and we had our inaugural season in 1990, that football season, and we beat Cathedral Prep in the Metro Reserve Championship, which was 9th, 10th, and 11th graders that could play, and we ended up 8-2. So my senior year, 1991, 92, was our first year varsity. It was an all varsity schedule, and our first Metro League win was against East High at the stadium. So
Right. Right.
yeah, man, grew up right in Erie, Pennsylvania, went to Mercier's Prep, and then ended up going to Mercier's University after that.
So let's go back to your high school at Mercier's Prep.
Mhm.
Because you were a junior when y'all started the football program. You were a junior that
Yeah,
year, right?
that was my junior year. Yes, sir.
Any memories of like the first practices or going to camp or anything like that? Or
Yeah, we we used to have 3-a-days in camp, and so camp was new for all of us, especially high school camp. And Coach Kaz and Coach Mike Allen, Coach Berger, those guys, Coach DeTulio, they ran this camp like a real camp. I can't remember exactly where we went. It was out somewhere past Fairview, I think, but we had 3 days. I remember where we stayed at. The big song at that time was "My Mind's Playing Tricks on You"
yeah, Ghetto
by
Boys,
the
right?
Ghetto Boys. So I remember listening to that song all the time there. And we had 2 weeks out at camp. A lot of different memories. It was surreal to be a part of something starting a program at a school. That was pretty neat. Our first year that we played, just getting all the players together. Eric Hicks was on my team as well. He was younger than me, but Eric Hicks played. Harry Carpenter, Jared Lowry. We had some really good players. Jeff Sansom. And my first year, um, probably one of the big memories for the first year was in the Metro League Championship. I had scored a number of times. Where our first play was always the reverse. They would run a reverse to me, and I'd score like 60, 70-yard touchdown. And so we kind of set up this game. So this last game of the year against Prep, Coach Cos said, what we're going to do is we're going to run a fake reverse on the first play. And Tony Tate was our quarterback, which is Jawan Walker's brother. And so Tony could scoop, man. He won the 100-meter in track and field my senior year when he was a junior. So he could scoop. But we ran the fake reverse. Tony faked it to me, and he went, 70 yards for a touchdown on the very first play of the game. And it was the funniest thing because I had like 4 or 5 guys on me, and they thought I had the ball. And then the second time we came out, we ran the reverse, and I scored on the reverse.
You scored on that.
So Coach Cos had that mapped up, those first 2 plays in the game, and we're up 14-0 already, man. And it was special, especially to do it against Cathedral Prep.
Right. Tell it because you played for Coach Costello. He's kind of really like a legend around the area.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about playing for Coach Costello and what you remember about him.
Coach Cos was he was a player's coach, man. I miss him a lot, man. I really do. He passed away when I was a freshman in college, but Coach Cos came in and he had all the right ingredients in how to start this program. And they've had a lot of success, especially last year. The teams that Javon Johnson and the Rowan brothers played on, they had a lot of success, in that program. And it was all started with Coach Cos. And he would do anything for you. We got really close with Miss Costello, Carol Costello. She was like the football mom. And of course, you had RJ and Craig, his sons, and they were great athletes themselves, but the support of the entire Costello family was great. Coach Cos would drop off players after practice for whoever needed rides. I was one of those players. Chris James was one of those players, and we would get in the back of his, I think he had a burgundy small Toyota pickup. We'd sit in the back, man, and he would drop us off. He would make sure everybody got home safely, man, and he would take care of us, man. He took care of his players, and he kept things simple as well, and to the plays so that we could understand because it was new for us. But you definitely want a coach like Costello to be in your corner. The legendary coach, the historical moments he had at Tech was just incredible. So to get him to start our program and to be our head coach, it was an honor to play for him. And I really miss him daily. But he always encouraged me, and he told me to trust in myself and to trust in my athletic ability. And if I did that, I would be just fine.
Right. Now, Craig, I saw you post something the other day about kind of like you guys laid out the groundwork for a lot of the success that Mercy has had in football. Do you consider yourself kind of like a pioneer, your groups that you play with?
Yeah, man, it's an honor to be coined that. They call us the OGs, the ones from the original team. Coach Jeff Root, that is the head coach at MPS right now, he still calls me OG. I was on the sidelines with them when they played against Warren last year. I made the trip up, me and my cousin Earl, who also went to Mercyhurst Prep years before me. But he rolled out the red carpet. We were on the sidelines. He let me call a play. and I called a play for a fullback, and he scored on a 45-yard run. John Leisering was in the booth on the radio, and he had me do an interview with him during halftime. We talked about old times and stuff. So, it's funny, I just turned 50, but to be in the conversation of one of the OGs up there is incredible. And I posted the other day, doing some of the things that we did, with the first team, you're going to break records or set records. You're going to be the first at a lot of different things. And
Right.
the one thing that I took pride in was our last game of the year, my senior year. This is on the varsity schedule. We played against Northeast. We had only won 3 games. We were 3-5 at the time. We had a 9-game schedule, and we're playing against Northeast, and we're just going back and forth, scoring. It was a high scoring game. Small secret, a lot of people don't know this too. I left this out of the post, but a few people that are close to me know this. So Kyle Horton came to me during the day, and I had lost one of my contacts that day. And
Right.
I can't see without my glasses or my contacts, man, And he said to me, he was like, Wood, you got one contact in your eye. You got to rush for 274 yards tonight in order to reach 1,000. How you going to do this? And I was like, well, I'm just going to go out and do my thing, man. I'm just going to go out and do my thing. So that night came, 7:00 out at Northeast, the lights came on. They did the math on our last possession.
Right.
We were losing the game already, so they wanted to get something out of that, and they wanted to get me to 1,000 yards.
Right.
And so Coach Cos just kept us calling same play, and it was 47 pitch. That was my play, 47
Right.
pitch. And we kept running it, and they couldn't stop it. They kept running. We kept running it. They couldn't stop it. We ran that play all the way down until there was like 2-3 seconds left. We got the ball off on time. 47 pitch. I got the ball, landed in the end zone, scored, and we're going crazy. I ended with 1,002 yards. So I was the first running back at the Hearst to rush for 1,000 yards. I ended with 276 yards rushing. That was my 4th touchdown of the game. And you would have looked around and thought we won the game because everyone was so excited. And Northeast was looking at us like, what in the hell are they cheering for? They just got beat, But we had a different agenda. That was an accomplishment for us. It was a goal for us. It was a milestone we set in camp, and it came through. And so to do that and to be one of the first ones to be involved in that and to have my name up there with a lot of firsts, it was incredible for me. Then being picked to play in the All-Star game, I was the first Mercier's player for that. First Mercier's player to score a touchdown in the All-Star game. There's a lot of firsts with it, and
Right.
Knowing that when I graduated, that what we laid out, people are going to take note to, and they'll always remember what we did and how we started it. And I've always wanted to kind of leave behind some type of a legacy where others would be proud to go to Mercier's Prep and do their thing. And the rest is history. And you see the guys that came through this program with Javon Johnson, the Daiwan Rowan, Levon Rowan, Jesse Lucetta. There's been a lot of really good players that have come through. And
Rasan played there for a little while too. I think even Rasan played there for a little.
Yeah, he did. He did, and then I think he transferred to Prep after that, or it was vice versa, one of the two. Rasan Powell. It was a pleasure to be involved. Eric Hicks did his thing, played for the Chiefs, and was on track to be the sack leader until he injured his knee. Yeah. So, what a blessing. It was just incredible. And then, just to still have Coach Root or even Mercyhurst University, Coach Remedio have me come back and speak to the players and share my experience with them and encourage them and let them know to keep fighting. And my message to the Mercyhurst University football team a couple of years ago was practice how you play so that you can play how you practice. You know. And I said, you guys got to go hard every day in practice. So then when it comes game time, it's no big deal because you practice that way, you know?
Right.
So pass these messages on to some of these young cats coming up and to see the success they're having. It feels good to be one of the OGs.
Right. So before because you mentioned your college career, Mercyhurst University, before we go into that, can you briefly talk about, because at Mercyhurst Prep, y'all won the state, you were not only a football player, you ran track, you played basketball, you did very well at both of those. Can you talk about, I mean, y'all won 2 state titles that year. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, man. Yeah. So like I said, freshman and sophomore year, I played soccer. I was a leading scorer on the soccer team my freshman year. Played a little bit my sophomore year. I ran track for a little bit. I didn't finish the year, but I ran track my sophomore year, and I won the Metro high jump championship with a jump of 6'2" as a sophomore. Played basketball. I had 5 in-game dunks throughout my career up there. I had two dunks when I was a sophomore and 3 my junior year. But I was able to play with Kyle and Shelby and Brian Dahlkemper and Brian Berger and these guys, Freddie Jones. And we had a hell of a squad. And we were the only AA boys team that played in the Metro League. And we're playing against, at that time, AAA and Quad A teams in Prep and McDowell and Academy and everything. And we went 27-5 that year with 4 losses to Metro League teams. We lost in the District 10 championship to Kennedy Christian, but we beat Kennedy Christian in the Western Final in order to go to Hershey. And we played against Bobby Sura, who played for Wilkes-Barre GAR. He averaged 35 points a game. I got to guard him that game. Ron Swanson guarded him that game. I took a charge from him, and we held him to 30 points, and we won 58-55. So that the 5 points that we held him up below
Right.
got us to win.
That was the
I'll
difference.
take credit for that.
That was the difference.
There's a difference. So throughout the playoffs, though, Mo, it was weird how this was set up because every single game that we played, the girls played before us. Our girls played before us, and then we played after them. And so we had a bond with these ladies, Angie Potoff and Teresa Zumagala and the Baginski twins, Gina DeBella, all these wonderful female players we built this bond with while we were traveling. And our motto that year was whatever it takes. We do whatever it takes to win, whatever it takes. And so it was, we became accustomed to the girls playing, they won. All right, fellas, let's go out and do our thing. Now we gotta bring it home. So we gotta keep this thing going. And at that time, the AA boys at Mercyhurst Prep had never gone as far as we've gone, And so we just had it in us. We get to the state championship game, and we won the Western Finals. The girls won the Western Finals, and they flipped the schedule for us. So now the boys are playing first, and then the girls played directly after us down at States. And we played in the old school gym at Hershey, which is the same arena that Wilt Chamberlain scored 100 points in for Philly, for the 76ers. So that was historic when you go in there and you're looking around. Now, they play in the Giant Center. I believe they're still at the Giant Center, but Hershey Park Arena was something else, man. It was just the aura of being in there was amazing. But we went out there and we did our thing. And Kyle came up with some key buckets towards the end. I came off the bench. I was the sixth man. I had 11 points in that game, 2 3-pointers, and a couple other shots after that. Brian Dahlkemper came in big, had a bucket towards the end, and we won 58-55. Mercyhurst Prep's first state championship on the boys level. And then we sat back. Now it's up to the girls. And the
Right.
girls played against Allentown Central Catholic. And they had Michelle Marciniak, who ended up playing at Notre Dame. She was a legend, man. She was outstanding. But we had some legends too. Angie Potoff played at Penn State. Teresa is in the Hall of Fame at Mercyhurst University. And those girls went out there and did their thing. They held their composure. And they won right after us. So when we came back, they had the parades at Mill Creek Mall, and we had the fire engines, and we came back with 2 gold medals, the first time in Pennsylvania history where the boys and girls won state titles in the same sport, and it was amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's great stuff. So you had a storied high school career, great high school career. So I know, are you thinking about are you thinking about college at this time, like going to play football, basketball at that time?
Yeah, I was actually thinking about playing both basketball and football. And I had a number of good looks from I was being recruited heavily by Rutgers, by Houston. I got some letters from Pitt, from Penn State, of course, the locals, Gannon, Mercyhurst. My father at the time was the vice president of student affairs at Kutztown University. And John Mobley played down there. He was the 16th pick in the 1996 draft. He was a linebacker. I didn't know that. I didn't know much about that, but I turned down a partial scholarship at Kutztown because I didn't want to go down there. I didn't want to embarrass my dad. I didn't want to get, time on the team and people say, oh, the only reason why he's playing, he's Dr. Woodard's son. I wanted to make a name for myself. And my mom was up here by herself in Erie, so I decided to go to Mercyhurst. I visited Edinboro. I visited Gannon, where Coach Tom Herman was at. And for me, it just seemed easy to continue to be a Laker for me, And so that's what I chose. I came in freshman year, all intentions of also playing basketball. I was recruited a little bit for basketball, but football, I fell in love with football. That was my sport. I knew I could succeed in that. I'm only 5'10". So on the basketball court, I could have played D2, no doubt about it. But football was my sport. I actually planned on trying out for the basketball team as well with those guys, Rashi Revere and Jerry Battle and Rasah Rowland and those guys. Jerry Battle was my roommate. So story of how I got my playing time. I was the 3rd string tailback coming into camp. Let's see, Pat Ott, former Cathedral Prep Rambler, was in his senior year. He had injured his shoulder the year before, and he came back for a 5th year to try to see if he's going to be all right. First game of the year, he injured his shoulder again. He was done for the season. Our 2nd string tailback, which was another senior, Chris Soltis, he went in, finished that game. The very next game was against Maryville at the stadium, and Soltis started that game. He fumbled a couple times in the first half. And Coach Chapman, my coach my freshman year was Jim Chapman, and he came up to me at halftime. He said, "Woody, are you ready to play?" I was like, "Coach, I was born ready. Let's do this. Come on now. This is what I've been waiting for." Now, through camp, I had been playing against All-American D tackle John Langer from Fairview, All-American D tackle Rob Bandish. These guys, and I didn't want to get hit by them, so I'm putting it all out there in practice. So I'm ready because I'm going against All-Americans every day, So he comes to me at halftime. I go out there in halftime, and I scored the game-winning touchdown, and I had 130 yards rushing my my first game in the second half of that game, and from that point on, that the position was mine, and I ended up with 1,166 yards that year. I was the ECAC Rookie of the Year. I set a whole bunch of records, the rookie rushing record. I was the first running back to rush for over 1,000 yards, also at the university.
At the university.
Um, I set a number of. I had a 94 yard run from scrimmage. Had a game against Canisius, 2 touchdowns, 222 yards. And here's the stat we didn't know because the internet was just heating up at that time. So the research on things wasn't as easily accessible, right? I found out, and I got it on my wall back up there, but I found out that my freshman year, out of all the freshman running backs in the country, we were Division III my freshman year. Then we went to Division II my sophomore year and up. I was the #1 rushing freshman in all D3 football, and I was the #2 rushing freshman in all of college football. Meaning any other freshman out there in all levels, there was only one. It was a David Johnson that rushed for more yards than me, and then it was me after that. And that's something I take pride in that people didn't know about back then, and I didn't find out until about 10 years ago. So yeah, did my thing, put in work, man. You know what I mean? A lot of fun. Now, as I got that starting position, they had basketball tryouts at 3:00, and we had football practice at 3:00. So I couldn't go to the tryout for basketball because I was a starter now. I ended up not playing basketball up there, but we played intramurals, and our team won the intramural championship every year.
Right.
So, but going back, I want to go back to that, to the recruiting part, if you will.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you had a storied career in high school and in college, but did you have any like regrets or, hey man, what if I would have did this, or maybe I should have gone there? Do you have any like thoughts like that?
Yeah, Jerry, the funny thing is this, we talk about all the accolades, we talk about the good things, but we don't talk about the adversity and the things that set us back. And, the reason why I chose to go to Mercyhurst is because I had to. I actually entered into a agreement with Dr. Garvey, who was the president of Mercyhurst when I was a senior in high school. And my grades weren't the best. And I encourage all people to, take school serious. If I could do my senior year again over, I'd do it again, and I would be a great student. When I got my master's degree, I was a 3.75 GPA student. So that definitely affected me. And when, a lot of the D1 colleges saw my grades, they're like, we'll get somebody else, you know what I mean, that we can rely on. So I had this agreement with Dr. Garvey. I had a meeting with him, and he posed this to me. He said, Woody, this is what we'll do. If you take 2 classes in the summertime, and you have a B average or better in those 2 classes, you'll be accepted to Mercyhurst main campus and eligible to play football your freshman year. If you have a C average, you'll be eligible to attend Mercyhurst main campus, because there was Mercyhurst Northeast as well, right? He said, you'll be eligible to attend Mercyhurst main campus, but you will not be eligible to play football your freshman year. And I was like, for C average. And wow. So then he said, if you have a D average, you'll be accepted to Mercyhurst Northeast and not eligible to play football. And then I said, well, what if I fail both classes? He said, then I'll pay for your classes for you. I was like, whoa. So I knew it was game on, right? And so graduated, played, um, um, finished up track, and started classes in the summertime, and I took one class in my major, which was communication, and I took a history class, and Dr. Peter Bellavart was my professor in the history class. But when he was out, Dr. Garvey taught the class because he was a historian. I didn't know that. So I'm sitting at the front of the class, man, and I'm listening. I'm trying to, history just wasn't my best class, man, but I got a C in history and I got an A in my communication class, which gave me my B average, which set me up to do exactly what I was able to do my freshman year. So after my freshman year, I go into the athletic director's office, which was Pete Russo at the time. And I said, Mr. Russo, I was thinking about transferring to Pitt. Billy West was down there. Tim Colicchio was down there. Curtis Martin was down there. But I think I could fit in. I proved myself on the field. I'm in college now. I got solid grades right now. This might be the time for me to go. And so at that point, it was Proposition 48. And he said, because you're Division III and you're going to go to Division I, you'd have to sit out a year. And I was like, I'd have to sit out a year. He's like, yeah, you'd have to sit out a year and then you'd be able to play the year after that. And Jerry, I'm telling you, man, that, not playing a year bothered me because of what I had just accomplished. I'm like, okay, if I go away from the sport for a whole year, man, I don't know if I want to do that. So that persuaded me to stay. But the thought occurred at that point that that's what I wanted to do. It's easy now. You just enter in the portal, somebody picks you up, you go, and it don't even matter now.
Right.
They didn't have that back in the day. But and I do think about the decision I made not to play at Kutztown, where John Mobley was at, because I could have gotten noticed down there, especially with him being the 16th pick overall.
Where's
And then
Andre
not
Reed play?
what's
Andre
that?
Reed. Andre Reed. Where did he go?
He went there as well. He was before me, but yeah, Andre Reed was one of the main players coming out of Kutztown. I believe there was a Dennison that also played for Dallas back in the day, older than Andre Reed. I can't remember his first name. Dennison was his last name. I still remember seeing him on the wall when I was down there visiting my dad. But John Mobley then became the next one. And my dad was actually also the Dean of Student Services at Savannah State when Shannon Sharp was down there. And then he left there and came up to Kutztown. So it was like, maybe I should have gone. Maybe I should have gone. You start thinking these things, but I look at how things turned out, and maybe it was just meant to be as far as what happened with me. Now sophomore year comes, I'm playing against Duquesne, your alma mater, right? We're the
Right. Yep.
first game on that turf field. And years ago, Jerry, that turf field was horrible. I know.
Awful.
Yeah, and I'm coming up to the game this on the second, Duquesne against Mercyhurst University. I'm coming up because my son now plays for the Hearst, but he's injured this year. But I already bought my ticket, so I'm still coming. So it's a meaningful game for me because the first play of the second quarter, I blew my right knee out in that game down at Duquesne, and that changed a lot for me, because you talk about 1993 reconstructive knee surgery. I tore my MCL, my ACL. I had a bone chip and tore my meniscus. And I mean, some of the doctors was like, you might not play again. And I'm like, if I can walk, I'm playing. And I ended up playing the following year. I didn't get as much time. I only rushed for 300 some yards. For me, it was a wasted year. I should have redshirt, but I didn't. Pride thing. I can move. Let me get back out there. And then my senior year, we went 7-3, missed the playoffs. but I broke the career rushing record, and that could have been my junior year, and I still got selected to play in this college all-star game out in Cleveland with some of the D1, D2 players out there, Bowling Green players, St. Francis, a lot of different teams. And we had a combine out there, and I got noticed by a scout from the Steelers. And so I ended up getting invited down to a free agent workout down in Pittsburgh for the Steelers, my squad. And it was just a dream to be down there running the 40 in front of Coach Cowher. I ran a 4.45, and I don't know if they picked anyone from that group. There's only 45 guys down there, but came back, started working, and then in 2000 we got the Erie Invaders, the very first indoor football team in Erie, and I was the starting fullback for them. I had nine touchdowns that year, and then they sold the league. So that was my football career, man. And I was already established and working, and I wasn't going to be moving around. And that window, as y'all both know, is very, very short when it comes down to trying to get into the league. So I really enjoyed my career, and it's nice to sit back and talk about it, you know?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Going back to your freshman year, you kind of spoke on it a little bit, but when did you feel like what was your thought process going into your freshman year? Did you say, hey, I have a senior in front of me, hey, I'll let him do his thing, and then maybe the next year? And when you actually did start to play, when did you feel like, hey, I've arrived and I can play at this level, I can do this?
Me personally, and y'all know me personally, I arrived when I started at camp. That's my mindset. I arrived when I got there, right? And then what confirmed that to me was over the summer, I spoke at this banquet, which was for my high school. And there was an assistant football coach up there, and I can't remember his name. And I'm glad I don't know his name. But he said to me, he was like, "Oh, you're down at Mercyhurst University, Mercyhurst College at the time." He was like, "Oh man, they got two good running backs down there. You're never gonna get any time down there." What? Okay. Sometimes you just need a little motivation, and then you need opportunity. And if you got motivation and opportunity, that equals success. And so it played out how it played out. Unfortunately, Pat got hurt in that first game. Unfortunately, Chris Soltis fumbled in the first half. But Coach came to me, as I said, and he said, "Woody, are you ready?" I was born ready. Now here's the opportunity, and I took advantage of it. And so, but I knew confidence-wise by playing against the All-Americans on when I was on the scout team that I had the potential of doing something special. Now, here's the other thing. I'm still learning the game, fellas. I didn't play football when I was young, and I envy some of these young kids that used to play in Bay City, that play in the parochial league and Bob Sanders league now, and I played 8th grade on offense one play. The rest of the time I played as a nose guard, and I wasn't a big guy, but I could tackle and I put my nose in and hit people, and then I had a break. Freshman and sophomore year, no football. We didn't have a team. And then I'm learning junior year. And then and that was my first year as a running back, my junior year in high school. And then senior year. And then breaking records or setting records my senior year. So my freshman year, I'm still learning the game. So I'm running out there raw, just on natural athletic ability, naturally learning how to read the defense, but definitely, if I had more years of experience, that would have definitely helped me out. But even up until I played in the indoor league professionally, we got paid $300 a game, but we got paid. I'd have done it for free,
Right.
I was still learning the game, and so there's a fine line, as y'all both know. Can you play too much football when you're young and then end up suffering some of these nagging injuries later on and get
Right.
worn down and worn out from football because you played too early?
Did too much.
Or did you not play enough football to boost your football IQ? You know,
Wow.
because there's things that you can learn from experience that other
Right.
new players that have talent may not see because they may not have the best football IQ. My son Jordan, who's at Mercyhurst University right now, I think is going to end up being a wonderful coach someday after his playing time is over, because I've exposed him to football. He's played since he's young. He is going through those injuries that I told you about,
Right.
but his IQ is outstanding.
Mm.
And that can be a great career as well. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
I
Right.
didn't have that. I didn't have that. So I went off natural ability and learned as I went along. And I wish I had maybe a couple years more under my belt, and I was a better student. Um, Things probably would have been different, but I did the best I could.
Right.
Yeah. So how was the training back then as opposed to what it is now? Like what, I mean, these guys now have access to a lot of things that we didn't have access. I'm saying even like 15 years ago. Like how was the
Yeah.
training back then as to what your son is doing now?
Yeah. The all around, I could name every single thing. Every single thing is different. The equipment is different. The weights are different. The weight training programs are different. The certain diets they put you on different. The way you view videotape is
Mm.
different. Um, the accessibility of marketing yourself different. Huddle and all those things. We didn't have those things. We had to make tapes and send them out. And
Right.
these coaches didn't see these things, and we had to wait for coaches to come and scout you. They had to come to the game, not click a
Right.
button on online.
Yeah.
All of these things were just so different. The recouping from injuries different because surgeries were different.
Right.
How you took care of your body was different.
Mm.
The facilities that they have now different. All of that stuff was something else. Off of football, let's go to track for a minute. I jumped 6'4" and cleared 6'4" my senior year and won the Metro League high jump championship with a jump of 6'4", and I jumped 21.9 in the long jump and won Metro in that my senior year. We don't have a track and field at Mercyhurst. You
Mm.
know how I practice my high jump? I practice my high jump by grabbing a volleyball and going up doing reverse dunks in the gym. You
Wow.
know, we didn't have the facilities back then. Where you look at a lot of the facilities that they have now, it's outstanding. It's just different, man. So we had to, I remember, and y'all might have had some of these too. Shin splints.
Oh yeah.
I
Well.
had
Yeah.
I had shin splints because
Yeah.
getting ready for track, we didn't have a track. We used to have to run on Grandview Boulevard on the street, and I
Mm.
developed a shin splint. So great question, Jerry. Everything was different back in the day, from how injuries were treated, how long it took you to recoup from it, even from specific surgeries. The turnaround time was different. And it makes you look back and see how incredible some of these guys are. I'll name two people. Rod Woodson tore his ACL at the beginning of a football season, and he played in the Super Bowl. He came back and played in the Super Bowl. That's how quick this man recovered from ACL surgery years ago. Who else did that? Jerry Rice did the same thing. Tore his ACL, came back, and he scored a touchdown in the playoff games that he had. Those guys were elite, and of course
Adrian
on the
Peterson did that
NFL
too.
level. What's that?
Adrian Peterson did that too. He tore
Yes,
his
he did.
knee I think he
Yes.
came back and ran for like 2,000 yards or something like that the next season.
Absolutely. And so the turnaround time for those guys now, even though the time was some years ago, but they had the best of the best because they're on the NFL level. But they were also the elite athletes that we're talking about. We didn't have that. We didn't have that, man. So I wish I had the guidance for someone to say, hey, why don't you take the next year off? Use your red shirt. Come back. You got 2 full years left. I actually called my dad and asked him about that. And he said, Craig, this is a decision you got to make on your own. And I wish he gave me that guidance because I'm the type, if I can run, I'm going to play. And I wish I had that guidance. I gave that guidance to my son when he tore his knee up. And this is the second time because he was out last year with when he blew his knee out at Notre Dame College where he was. And I said, listen, red shirt, come back stronger. You're going to come back stronger. So he was ready for this year, and then he tore his meniscus. So he'll have 3 years left, though, after this year.
So I want to talk about like the next phase. And I think we both have experienced or come into contact with guys who have a tough time making the transition after football, right? They like, you can be the star, high school. Even some guys had a hard time making the transition after high school, but we all played in college. So there were guys that, they're a good player, but then they don't know how to transition into the next phase of life. How did you approach that? You want to talk a little bit about your career, and also how did you approach? Because you were a sportscaster, correct? How did you approach that, like game day, and like tell us about your first experience, like being on TV and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's funny because there's a bigger transition from high school to college than there is from college to pro. The athletes that you see on the pro level are pretty much what you see on the college level, just a little faster, just a little bigger, and it just depends on where you played at. But the transition to life is totally different. I think some people have to understand why they're in college, and it's I want to play this sport as long as I can play this sport. I want to be around this sport as long as I can be around this sport. And when the good Lord says I'm done, what do I fall back on, right? And so when I went to Mercyhurst University, my major was communications. I had a plan. My plan was I want to play this sport as long as I can. I want to try to get some notoriety through sports so that I can fall back when I'm done and be a sportscaster after that. And so it's weird how this happened too. I went down in history for this too. I did my internship my senior year at Mercyhurst at WSEE Channel 35 with Gary Drapshow. God rest his soul. I was a videographer in the sports department. I did a lot, but I did a lot of re-racking the sports show and putting it in my own words and letting them have me go on set and make tapes. I didn't have my suit on or nothing, but I would sit down and I would reread the highlights, and they would re-rack the highlights and stuff. And I was practicing because I had a bigger agenda than just being a videographer. Videographer was a great profession, and many of the great people that I worked with are still in that position. But I wanted to be on air, so I had to work hard. And you said the same thing, Jerry. Did you prepare? Every day I prepared for that. Every day. And then an opportunity came, and I took advantage of it. And so I got into WICU through Gary Horton and Frida Tarbell. And I used one of the tapes that I made when I was practicing to give them something so they could see me on air. And, I'm at my interview with Mike Conway, who was the news director. We went to Puffer Bellies. I don't know if that restaurant is even open, but we went there for lunch, and he said, he's asking me all these questions about being on TV, and he asked me, he said, how would you feel about being the only African-American on TV in this market? And at that time, there were none. And I said, I thought about that. And my thing is this: regardless of what someone is watching me for. If they're watching me because I'm the only African American on air, they're watching me. If they're watching me because they like what I'm saying or they want to see what I'm wearing, they're watching me. And for you, all you want is for them to watch me anyway because it's all about ratings. So
Right.
I encourage it. I'm ready for it. And I figured you'd ask me that question, you know? And so that's how I approached my profession. Now I got the job. So as I got the job, I transitioned into a sports anchor. Dave Sess ended up leaving. He was the weekend guy with Mike. Mike Ruzzi was the main guy, which is a big brother of mine now. He taught me the business, and I took over the weekend show. Mike said, "Wood, run it how you want to run it." And I said, "Well, Ruzi, you know, I grew up here, and the Bay City kids and the parochial league, and they don't get any exposure. Those are the same players. Those athletes are who we cover when they're in high school. Let's
Right.
cover them earlier." So that we can go back and say, remember this video? Remember I told you? I said, let's do that. Nobody else is doing it. He said, let's do it. And so I started to do that, and I started to give these kids nicknames, and they loved it. And that was the most requested videotape on a Monday was some of my shows and stuff. So I approached it just like that. You have to prepare. You got to do your research. You got to watch other people. You know, we did a couple games live where I was the color commentator and Mike was play-by-play. And you know, it makes me view TV a little different now because I was on the other end of it. But yeah, man, it was a lot of fun. Was I nervous when I first got on there? Um, I'm never nervous to get on camera, and I'm never nervous to speak to a group of people. Um, you know, Mo, you said to me, "Hey, you want me to send you some pre-answers?" Nah, I'm good. You know, I'm good
Yeah.
because you know what I mean? I know what I'm going to say. I just
Right.
feel like if you know what you're going to say and you're true to the game, there's no rehearsing, you know, just be real. And so
Right.
I just encourage people that do these interviews on TV, that do any type of interviews for jobs, be yourself. You're good enough. You're good enough. And that's what I felt. And I got a lot of love from the Erie community when I was on as a sports anchor and when I did news, and I got a lot of people to let me in and let me speak to them about, you know, losing a loved one. And, you know, that's was one of the worst parts of doing news reporting is having to talk to a family that lost a loved one. But if you treat it with compassion and they know you're going to treat their story right, they'll trust you. And that's what I had with the Erie community. And I love the Erie community for that.
Right. So Craig, before we wrap up, it's been a great interview, man. Your memory, man, you got a memory like an elephant, man. You remember all of it. A lot of the stuff that
A lot of names,
a
man.
lot of the stuff that you talked about today. I told my brother beforehand, he did this, he did that, he did this, and we didn't have to say anything. So great job, man. But
Right.
when you look back at it all, what are you most proud of about all your whole career?
Um, that's a loaded question. I would say that I'm proud of the legacy that I left behind, but I'm more proud of how my parents raised me in order to turn out the way that I did and to do it the way that I did. And I had some growing pains through my career too. You know, my freshman year playing against Gannon, I struck the Heisman pose after I scored a touchdown. Uh, my sophomore year, Coach Kimball said, "Woody, don't strike no Heisman pose." And then the guy hit me while I was in the end zone, and I struck the Heisman pose my sophomore year. You know, showboating. You know, and there's a thing called "act like you've been there before," which Walter Payton is the reason why I wear 34. Well, I've never seen him showboat. Barry Sanders, you never see him showboat. If I were to do it over again, I probably would do it how they did it. However, it was fun along the process, but I'll be the first one to tell people to stay humble. And I teach my sons that as well. Stay humble, stay humble, be proud. There's a fine line between being conceited and being confident. Always be confident and always be ready. And I hope that people look at, you know, what I did on the track and field, what I did on the basketball court, what I did on the football field, what I did on the soccer field, and they can look and see that I was an all-around athlete and I did it the right way. I had no, you know, scandals or nothing attached to my name.
Right.
I tried to do things the right way, and I continue to try to live that life as well because I'm a role model for a lot. I'm a mentor to a kid down here that we got into college, and I have 3 boys. Especially my youngest son, Craig Jr., who's 10. So I want my kids to be proud of me, and I want my parents to be proud of who they raised as well. So I'm very, very proud of how my parents, who got divorced when I was young, were able to co-parent me and raise me into the person that I am.
Right. Jerry, you got anything else for the legend here?
No, you know what? I just want to say you do have a great memory. You said a lot of like a lot of names. You put a lot of names out there, and I appreciate it. Because you know, I talk to Mo a lot, and I always tell him, I'm like, you know, before like his era, like, you know, I would see you on TV and stuff like that, but before his era, I really didn't know a lot. So to actually conduct these interviews and to hear the history, it's a great thing for me to get this knowledge and know that Erie does have a rich sports history.
Yeah, it goes really deep, man. I mean, you know, me growing up and hearing stories from my uncles and my father and the names that just stuck with me. You know, my uncle Eddie Woodard, Bobby Woodard, played at Kent State with Jack Lambert. You know, he told me stories years ago. My uncle Elmer, who played at Academy, who was named Erie's best athlete, even when Fred Biletnikoff was there. You know, my dad was one of the best point guards in the state of Pennsylvania, Chicky Woodard, and a lot of people don't know these names, and they talk about like Denny Sadisher and a lot of these Fred Williams and all these older names. And I through sports, got to know a lot of the other names like Art Baker and Rob Britton and these guys, man, and Dajuan Rowan, you know, and it's just been, or Levon Rowan, his dad. It's just been incredible to grow up in the rich history athletically of Erie, Pennsylvania. Tell people that you're from the 814. Put some names out there that they can associate it with. Erie's not just one of these small little towns, man. We have a lot of rich history with sports. Look at what Kayla McBride is doing right now. I mean, we have a lot to be proud of being from Erie, growing up from Erie. And even though I live down here in Tampa, I'm constantly repping the 814, and my cell phone number still starts with 814.
Well, C. Wood, hey man, we want to thank you for this interview today, man. Once again, we were here today with Mercyhurst University legend, Erie new sports legend, and also Mercyhurst Prep pioneer, Craig Woodard. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys for having me.
Peace.